Göbekli Tepe turned out to be what you think it might have been, the place where advanced ancient civilization once inhabited, or they used it. Where are the metal tools?
High on a limestone ridge overlooking the plains of southeastern Turkey lies Göbekli Tepe. When German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt
unbelievable good preservation of this enclosure, which had been erected by Stone Age people so long ago and which is still existent now here,
began systematic excavations in the 1990s, he revealed not a village or a burial ground, but a sprawling ceremonial complex created by hunter-gatherers at the dawn of the Neolithic. As researchers grapple with the meaning of its mysterious symbols, a new ally has emerged. Rumors suggest that AI has decoded Göbekli Tepe's ancient code. This is going to be a wild ride. Let's get started. The Göbekli Tepe. Located on a hilltop in southeastern Turkey's Şanlıurfa province, the Göbekli Tepe site first came to scholarly attention in 1963, when a joint survey conducted by the University of Istanbul and the University of Chicago noted the presence of unusual stone fragments and mounds. For decades, the significance of these remains went unrecognized until the German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt of the German Archaeological Institute began systematic excavations in 1994. What Schmidt and his team uncovered would overturn long-standing assumptions about the development of religion, architecture, and social organization in human history. Radiocarbon dating of the site places its construction between roughly 9,600 and 9,500 BC, during the pre-pottery Neolithic period. This time frame predates the commonly accepted onset of settled agricultural societies, suggesting that Göbekli Tepe was built by hunter-gatherers who had not yet developed farming economies. This makes Göbekli Tepe the world's oldest known megalithic ritual complex, older than Stonehenge in England by approximately 6,000 years and the Egyptian pyramids by around 7,000 years. Its age alone makes it an unprecedented window into human prehistory. But it's not just old. It's huge and sophisticated. The site comprises multiple circular and oval stone enclosures, each with massive T-shaped limestone pillars that can reach heights of up to 6 meters and weigh as much as 10 tons. Some of these pillars are decorated with intricate carvings of animals, abstract symbols, and humanoid forms. The discovery of Göbekli Tepe forces a reconsideration of the traditional narrative of human development. For much of the 20th century, scholars believed that organized religion and monumental architecture emerged only after the advent of agriculture, when permanent settlements allowed communities to devote resources and labor to collective projects. Göbekli Tepe, however, appears to invert this timeline. The scale of its construction implies the existence of large, coordinated groups who gathered seasonally to quarry, transport, and erect the megaliths. These gatherings may have been motivated by shared ritual or religious practices, making Göbekli Tepe an example of monumental architecture preceding agriculture, rather than the other way around. Sites like Göbekli Tepe may have been a catalyst for the later development of farming and sedentary life. Naturally, Göbekli Tepe's carvings and symbols have become the focus of intense debate. The pillars feature a remarkable bestiary of carved animals, including foxes, boars, vultures, snakes, and scorpions, as well as more abstract motifs such as H and I-shaped symbols. While their precise meanings remain elusive, interpretations abound. Some scholars view the carvings as representations of a mythological or ritual worldview, while others argue that they may encode astronomical knowledge. A notable hypothesis advanced by Martin B. Sweatman of the University of Edinburgh suggests that certain carvings on a pillar known as the Vulture Stone, Pillar 43, may record a comet impact around 10,850 BC, possibly connected with climatic changes at the onset of the Younger Dryas period. The challenge in interpreting Göbekli Tepe lies in the absence of written records or clear ethnographic parallels. Unlike later civilizations with inscriptions or texts, the builders of Göbekli Tepe left behind only their architecture and symbols. Archaeologists continue to debate whether the enclosures were primarily religious sanctuaries, social gathering spaces, or even proto-observatories for tracking celestial phenomena. What remains clear is that Göbekli Tepe represents a symbolic universe that its builders deemed important enough to mobilize enormous effort, even before the advent of farming and permanent villages. Göbekli Tepe's symbolism and current human interpretations. German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt of the German Archaeological Institute labored to unearth the site for 2 decades until he died in 2014. Even then, estimates suggest that only about 5% of the site has been excavated. Already, archaeologists have uncovered dozens of massive T-shaped limestone pillars arranged in circles, some weighing up to 10 tons and standing over 5 meters high. The carvings on these T-shaped pillars are some of the most distinctive symbolic expressions from the early Neolithic world. They depict a wide range of animals, including foxes, boars, vultures, leopards, snakes, scorpions, and wild asses. The images are often stylized, but show remarkable attention to detail, suggesting both a high level of craftsmanship and symbolic intent. Alongside animal figures, the pillars also display abstract geometric motifs, such as the repeated appearance of H and I shapes. These geometric signs are not unique to Göbekli Tepe. Similar forms have been found in prehistoric art across Eurasia, but their recurrence at this site has led scholars to consider them as potentially carrying specific symbolic or communicative value. Some of the T-pillars themselves are thought to be anthropomorphic, with carved arms, hands, and belts. They may represent stylized human or divine figures. Interestingly, there are no hearths, no substantial dwellings, and no permanent agricultural infrastructure in the complex. This has led many archaeologists to argue that it was not a settlement, but rather a sanctuary or ceremonial center. The enclosures appear to have been constructed for gatherings that may have involved feasting, sacrifice, or rites of passage. Large quantities of animal bones found in and around the site support the idea of communal feasting, possibly associated with ritual performances. The monumental scale of the pillars and the labor required to construct them suggest a collective effort organized around shared beliefs, which could have helped foster social cohesion among scattered groups of hunter-gatherers. The mythological interpretation also finds support in the carvings themselves. Vultures, for instance, are frequently depicted on the pillars. In later Neolithic cultures of Anatolia and Mesopotamia, vultures were often associated with excarnation rituals, in which the dead were exposed to birds of prey before their bones were interred. This has led some researchers to suggest that Göbekli Tepe may have played a role in early funerary or death-related rituals. Snakes and scorpions, also common motifs at the site, could symbolize danger, transformation, or connections to the underworld. Such imagery points to a complex symbolic worldview. Researchers have also noted that the layout of certain enclosures and the orientation of pillars may align with celestial bodies, such as the rising of the star Sirius or solstitial points. Göbekli Tepe might have served as a site where early humans tracked the passage of time, the seasons, or cosmic cycles. If true, this would suggest that the builders were already engaged in systematic observation of the sky thousands of years before the emergence of written calendars. Abstract symbols like the H and I forms might represent schematic markers of time, space, or celestial motion. Beyond ritual and astronomical interpretations, Göbekli Tepe is also understood as a social and ritual gathering place for hunter-gatherer groups of the early Neolithic. The site's scale and complexity would have required significant coordination, drawing together communities from across the surrounding region. Evidence from stone tools and raw materials indicates that people traveled from considerable distances to participate in activities at Göbekli Tepe. The act of building such massive enclosures must have played a central role in strengthening social bonds, reinforcing shared identities, and establishing networks of cooperation. In this view, Göbekli Tepe was less about encoding mythological or astronomical knowledge and more about the social process of gathering, feasting, and building together. These gatherings could have provided the cultural and organizational foundations for later agricultural and sedentary societies. However, major challenges remain in interpreting Göbekli Tepe's symbolism. One of the most significant obstacles is the complete absence of written records from this period. Unlike Mesopotamian or Egyptian civilizations, where inscriptions provide direct insights into belief systems, the builders of Göbekli Tepe left only images and architecture. Without textual anchors, the meaning of the carvings must be inferred from archaeological context, ethnographic analogy, and comparative study, all of which are inherently limited and prone to subjective interpretation. Another difficulty is the limited extent of excavation. So far, only a small fraction of the site has been uncovered. With at least 20 identified enclosures still buried beneath the mound, many questions about the full scope and function of Göbekli Tepe remain unanswered. Future excavations might reveal new motifs, layouts, or structures that could fundamentally alter current interpretations. Furthermore, the cultural context of Göbekli Tepe is only partly understood. The builders lived during the pre-pottery Neolithic, a transitional period when human societies were shifting from mobile hunting and gathering to more settled ways of life. While nearby sites such as Nevalachori and Chayonu provide some comparative material, the symbolic system of Göbekli Tepe appears unique in its scale and complexity. This lack of close parallels makes it difficult to situate the site within a broader symbolic tradition. The challenge is compounded by the fact that interpretations are often influenced by modern perspectives, which may project meanings onto the symbols that were never intended by their creators. Whether the site is ultimately understood as a sanctuary, a proto-observatory, or a social gathering place, it demonstrates that complex symbolic systems and monumental architecture emerged long before the advent of farming and urbanism. Göbekli Tepe shows that humanity's earliest civilizations were not only technological but deeply symbolic, investing immense effort into carving meaning into stone. But a lot of pieces are missing from the puzzle. This is where AI can step in, how AI is currently used in archaeology. While traditional archaeological techniques remain central to the field, the integration of machine learning, computer vision, and natural language processing is transforming how archaeologists interpret data. These technologies are particularly useful when dealing with complex symbolic systems, fragmentary inscriptions, or large-scale comparative studies, where human observation alone may be insufficient. One of the most widely adopted uses of AI in archaeology is pattern recognition. Machine learning algorithms are trained to identify recurring motifs in rock art, ceramics, and proto-writing systems, enabling archaeologists to detect similarities that may not be obvious to the naked eye. For example, researchers studying Paleolithic cave art in Europe have used AI to classify thousands of images based on stylistic features, revealing networks of cultural exchange and symbolic continuity across regions. Similarly, projects analyzing petroglyphs in the American Southwest have employed convolutional neural networks, or CNNs, to group similar carvings. This can help archaeologists understand which motifs were shared across different cultural groups. AI is also essential in image enhancement, particularly for the reconstruction of eroded or damaged carvings. Many archaeological sites suffer from weathering, vandalism, or incomplete preservation, making it difficult to interpret the original designs. Computer vision techniques, including deep learning models trained on high-resolution scans, can enhance faint lines and reconstruct missing portions of inscriptions or carvings. A notable example is the use of reflectance transformation imaging, or RTI, combined with AI-based image analysis to recover details from cuneiform tablets and Mayan glyphs. In 2021, researchers at Oxford and the British Museum applied machine learning to 3D scans of Assyrian reliefs, revealing previously invisible details of tool marks and inscriptions. Similar approaches could be applied to prehistoric sites, such as Göbekli Tepe, where animal carvings and abstract symbols are sometimes faint or partially eroded. Another powerful contribution of AI to archaeology lies in big data analysis. Archaeology increasingly produces massive datasets, ranging from radiocarbon dates and geographic information to symbol catalogues and excavation records. AI-driven statistical analysis allows researchers to compare symbol sets across global prehistoric sites, identifying cross-cultural connections or independent innovations. For instance, the European Research Council's Paleoanalytics project has applied machine learning to databases of Upper Paleolithic engravings, showing recurring geometric motifs across thousands of kilometers. Inscriptions from Mesopotamia, Egypt, and the Indus Valley are also being analyzed with big data techniques to track the spread of proto-writing systems. By processing thousands of entries simultaneously, AI enables archaeologists to ask questions on a scale that would have been impossible using manual methods, such as whether certain motifs consistently appear alongside others, or how symbolic traditions evolved over centuries. Then there's predictive modeling. AI algorithms trained on existing excavation data can generate predictions about where undiscovered sites may be located, how ancient structures were constructed, or what functions they served. For example, predictive site modeling has been used extensively in North America, where machine learning has helped archaeologists identify likely locations of Native American settlements by combining environmental data with known site distributions. At Çatalhöyük in central Turkey, one of the best-studied Neolithic sites, computational models have been employed to simulate population density, house construction techniques, and social organization. Applied to sites like Göbekli Tepe, predictive modeling could help test hypotheses about whether enclosures were aligned to celestial events, or how communities coordinated the labor required to quarry, transport, and erect massive stone pillars. Natural language processing, or NLP, has also made significant strides in deciphering ancient scripts and inscriptions. While Göbekli Tepe predates written language, the success of NLP in other contexts demonstrates its potential for analyzing symbolic systems. In 2019, researchers at MIT and Google trained machine learning algorithms to identify relationships between characters in undeciphered scripts, including Linear B and Ugaritic. Although Linear B was already deciphered in the 1950s, the AI system was able to independently rediscover its phonetic structure in a fraction of the time. More recently, the Deep Scribe project at the University of Chicago has applied NLP to digitized collections of Mesopotamian cuneiform tablets, automating the translation of Akkadian texts. Regarding the online rumors, AI has not yet cracked the code for Göbekli Tepe, but that time is not very far away. So, how can AI help us decipher Göbekli Tepe? Potential AI applications at Göbekli Tepe. With the rise of artificial intelligence, archaeologists now see new opportunities to analyze Göbekli Tepe's enigmatic features in ways that were impossible just a generation ago. One of the most immediate applications of AI at Göbekli Tepe would be symbol clustering. Machine learning algorithms, particularly convolutional neural networks, could be trained on high-resolution scans of the carvings to identify and group similar motifs. This would allow researchers to quantify the frequency of specific animals, such as foxes, snakes, and vultures, and determine whether their placement follows particular patterns across different enclosures. For example, Pillar 43 in Enclosure D, often called the vulture stone, contains an array of symbolic imagery, including birds and a headless human figure. By clustering such motifs across the site, AI could provide statistical evidence of whether certain symbols were linked to specific ritual contexts, seasonal cycles, or cosmological themes. Beyond clustering, AI could advance comparative analysis by cross-referencing Göbekli Tepe's carvings with global databases of Neolithic and Paleolithic symbols. Projects such as the Global Rock Art Database and the European Upper Paleolithic Symbolic Project already catalogue thousands of engravings and paintings from across continents. Feeding Göbekli Tepe's carvings into such datasets could reveal whether its abstract motifs share similarities with geometric patterns found in caves like Lascaux in France, which are around 17,000 years old, or with motifs from the Natufian culture in the Levant, which are aged between 12,500 and 9,500 BCE. While cultural connections cannot be assumed from similarity alone, AI-assisted cross-referencing could highlight potential cases of shared symbolic traditions or independent invention, helping archaeologists situate Göbekli Tepe within a broader prehistoric symbolic landscape. Astronomical alignment testing is another area where AI could play a pivotal role. Scholars have long debated whether Göbekli Tepe's pillars were aligned with celestial bodies, possibly tracking solstices, equinoxes, or even star constellations like Orion. AI models could process vast amounts of orientation data from the site's enclosures, combined with simulations of the night sky as it appeared around 9,600 BCE. By comparing observed pillar alignments against randomly generated baselines, AI could determine whether the orientations are statistically significant or merely coincidental. This approach mirrors recent work at sites like Stonehenge and Nabta Playa in Egypt, where computational models have been applied to assess the plausibility of archaeo-astronomical claims. Reconstruction is another promising application. Many areas of Göbekli Tepe remain unexcavated, while others have been damaged by erosion or backfilling. AI-assisted 3D modeling, using techniques such as generative adversarial networks, or GANs, could digitally reconstruct missing sections of pillars or collapsed enclosures. In 2021, a similar method was applied at Pompeii, where deep learning models reconstructed frescoes destroyed by volcanic ash. At Göbekli Tepe, such reconstructions could provide archaeologists with virtual environments to test hypotheses about architectural layout, acoustics, or ritual movement within enclosures, all without disturbing the fragile remains. To address the deeper question of why Göbekli Tepe emerged at such an early stage, AI could be applied to cultural context modeling. By integrating datasets from paleoclimatology, ancient DNA studies, and migration patterns, algorithms could simulate the socio-environmental conditions that made large-scale construction feasible. For example, isotopic analyses from nearby Neolithic sites suggest shifts in climate around 9,600 BCE that may have encouraged new forms of social organization. Genetic studies have revealed interactions between hunter-gatherer and early farming groups in the Fertile Crescent. AI could synthesize these datasets to model scenarios in which resource abundance, population density, and symbolic innovation converged to produce the unprecedented monumentality of Göbekli Tepe. Developing AI models trained specifically on prehistoric symbolic datasets could further refine interpretations. Unlike NLP models trained on modern languages, these systems would not attempt to translate the symbols, but instead detect probabilistic structures, such as whether certain animals consistently appear with abstract shapes, or whether sequences of carvings follow recurring rules. This probabilistic approach acknowledges that Göbekli Tepe's symbols may encode information about cosmology, ritual, or social memory. The success of such projects would depend on collaborative frameworks that bring together archaeologists, data scientists, and heritage specialists. Initiatives like the DeepScribe project for cuneiform tablets at the University of Chicago demonstrate how interdisciplinary teams can develop AI tools tailored to ancient data. A similar framework applied to Göbekli Tepe would ensure that computational results are grounded in archaeological theory. However, ethical considerations are central to this endeavor. Göbekli Tepe is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and interpretations of its symbols hold cultural significance not just for Turkey, but for global heritage. Overinterpretation of AI results could fuel pseudo-archaeological claims, as has often happened in popular media. To avoid this, researchers must emphasize that AI provides probabilistic insights rather than definitive translations, and interpretations must always be contextualized within rigorous archaeological frameworks. By clustering symbols, testing astronomical hypotheses, reconstructing lost architecture, and modeling cultural context, AI can complement human expertise in unraveling one of humanity's greatest archaeological mysteries. While the symbols of Göbekli Tepe remain undeciphered, the integration of advanced computational tools promises to generate new insights. Well, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Did you like this video? If you did, please consider liking, dropping a comment, and hitting the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on our new uploads. Also, don't miss this video you see on your screen right now. It's truly unbelievable.